Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good.
I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for coming on and, sharing your story with us. I know it could be a little bit daunting to come on an IG live.
It's my first one.
Yeah, they're not that fun, but you got to do them. So, I know you were in the live when I was kind of telling the events of your story, but is there anything you feel like I missed or wanted me to add in?
No, I mean, you've pretty much captured it all. I, in total, did 3 rounds of IVF.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, one successful one and two failures. So,
Yeah.
and all this sort of in between stuff that it
Mhm.
comes with.
Yeah. So let's kind of forward, after 12 months of trying, you were finally referred to a fertility clinic. What were you feeling before your first appointment? Like what was going through your mind?
You know what? By the time that sort of came about, I was actually ironically excited. I
Mhm.
mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so I haven't been able to get pregnant. For those of you who are struggling to conceive, know that it's nothing but a waiting game. So it's, you wait to be able to get referred, and then you get referred, and you have to wait for that appointment. So for me, by the time sort of that appointment was here, I was actually excited, and I was obviously jaded to think
Mhm.
that, I was going to go there and then some doctor would say like poof,
Yeah.
um, and solve my problems.
Yeah.
Realizing really the complexity that infertility, IVF, and all the other stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah. So you started IVF. What was your experience with that? Was it scary? Was it painful? What was it like?
I did. So, firstly, I don't do well with needles.
Mm.
And obviously, the IVF journey is nothing but needle after needle. So, I mean, I give huge props to all those women who do the self injections, because ever since I've joined this community, I've seen nothing but these women that are enormously strong that do their own injections. I don't think I've administered one injection. My husband was the one who had to you know insert every single needle. It's emotionally draining. It's physically exhausting. Hormones are all over the place, and I don't think I've ever been so stressed out in my life, because you put literally you put all your eggs in one basket and
Yeah.
really hope that it works.
Yeah, seriously. It's a little bit it's daunting to even think about.
Yeah, yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. So, I was reading some of your blogs and one of them mentioned how, your period started to signify a failure for you. Um, that resonated with me because I see so many couples put all of their hopes into one cycle and then, bam, their period happens. What advice do you have to help couples kind of deal with the trauma that comes with that and the grief?
Yeah, so for me, even to this day, getting my period is sort of like a cognizant dissonance, where period equals failure, it's
Mhm.
like a slap in the face. And you know what's funny? It's like, even now, I may not even be trying this month, and I get my period, and I still have that gut-wrenching feeling that it was another sort of failure. Um, if you think about it, women overall who are trying to conceive will get their period,
Mhm.
and they'll legitimately go into a rut. They'll become depressed. They'll go into it, it's just an awful place.
Yeah.
And then, from there, that transitions quickly into ovulation, right? And then what does that look like? You become obsessed with, you know, timing intercourse, and you
Yeah.
literally become obsessed with that. And then as soon as sort of that phase is over, and then it's another stress. You go through that infamous 2 week wait where it's like you're Googling, you're thinking you have all these symptoms
Mm-hmm.
to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens? You get your pregnant again. Pregnant again. You get your period again.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle, and honestly, it's no way to live. And so, if I would give advice to anybody, I mean, I lived that vicious, brutal cycle for years.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can promise, hand on heart, it gets better. And it gets easier. I'm not going to sit here and give you ways to, you know, release the stress or not to worry, because legitimately you're not. There's nothing I can say to make you less stressed, but what I can say is, you know, you get your period, feel your emotions, go grieve, but be able to find that strength to literally pick yourself up, you know, lean on someone that you can, and literally look at every try to do a mind shift and look at every new cycle as a new opportunity, a new chance, and just don't lose hope.
Wow, yeah, that's an amazing message, and really practical as well, because you can tell someone, oh, don't stress, like go for a walk or something, but I like realistically, you know, you have to feel the emotions eventually.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in another article, you were talking about how, you know, the grief even continues after having a successful child. What do you mean by that? And, you know, what has that been look like for you, and what advice do you have for people?
That one's a toughie. You know, I think so. Obviously, as you mentioned at the beginning of this chat, is that I was very fortunate enough to have a successful outcome from my first IVF cycle. But then, literally shortly after my son was born, my brain, it started to get consumed again. And what I would start stressing about was, oh my God, I need to go through IVF again. I need to give Mason a sibling. I had this idealistic vision of what I wanted as a family, and I wanted, naturally, I wanted more than one child. So by the time Mason was 2, I thought that it was time to try to give Mason a sibling, and then it became not about me anymore. It became about my son, and how I needed to give him a sibling, and I got consumed by that. And then when I failed, it just it's a totally different set of emotions. And I guess what made it even harder is because when someone is suffering from a secondary type of fertility, it tends to be a much scarier place, because your support system, and by no fault of their own, they don't get it, and they are not as supportive as you need them to be, because at the end of the day they'll just say, you know, Steph, you have Mason, be grateful, you know. You get to be a mom, and it's not about that, and it's not about not being grateful. It's about that loss, going through the impact, the stress, everything that comes along with it, and not being able to fulfill, you know, that journey, and give to expand your family. So for me, that was really hard, because I became very resentful. I became very bitter. I became very withdrawn. And I really isolated myself from everybody, and it was hard. But where I sort of, you know, I always say, and I don't mean to be cliche, but I always say, you know, after every storm there is a rainbow, and it can't rain forever. And while I was in that sort of zone, it was like a 2-year zone where I feel like I was on autopilot. I missed out. I missed out on being mindful. And I know with this pandemic that's happening right now, you may hear that term, you know, mindfulness.
Mhm.
That journey made me extremely mindful because I really started to focus on my son when he was like 4.
Mhm.
I feel like I was on autopilot because I didn't sit and reap the enjoyment and the benefits that, you know, I had to let go ultimately of that idealistic picture that I had in my head and be able to shift
Mhm.
my sort of expectations of what my life is and was, to be
Yeah.
able to actually move forward
Yeah.
with this. And that's why I'm so passionate, and that's why, you know, I'm really a huge advocate, because I've hit rock bottom. I became someone who lost her way, and I get it. I get how scary this place is, and
Yeah.
I finally see the rainbow.
Mhm.
So if
That's
I can
amazing.
help anybody, at least one person,
Yeah.
that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Even that one person is huge.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, you talked about that support system, and it's hard to have someone you love go through that process of infertility and fertility treatments, and you're not really experiencing it. So it's hard to know like how to support them. What advice do you have for people who have loved ones who are basically going through it?
Be mindful. Be mindful that, you know, infertility requires support, not advice. To your point, you know, it's hard to watch someone that you love suffer. I get it. But what you have to understand is that you can solve infertility. You can't fix it. As much as you want to try, you can't fix it for them. So, you know, you need to be mindful not to say silly things like, just adopt, or, you know, just relax, have a glass of wine, go on vacation. It's infertility is complex, and that just invalidates someone's feelings and emotions and just makes them alienate even more. So what I would say is be mindful, and also check in. That was something for me is very important. You know, even when things are quiet, that's typically sort of when stuff is brewing. Just check in.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well said. Um, so I know you've touched on it a little bit, but how has your outlook on life and your outlook on your marriage, how has that changed with going through this?
So again, I've been able to sort of be more mindful. You know, I always use the analogy, I've always been focused on an entire staircase. You know,
Yeah.
you take a look at a staircase, and I've always, you know, from the moment I got married, because I became so like consumed with wanting to start a family. So I've always really focused on an entire staircase. And now what I'm trying to do, especially within my home life, is to focus on the actual step in front of me.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll go 1 or 2 steps, but I focus on the step ahead versus that damn staircase, because that would just be the death of me.
Wow. Yeah, I totally agree. Wow, this has been so amazing and so powerful. And I really thank you for sharing all of these things. I know you write about them, and I love reading your blogs. I've read like all of
Thank
them so
you.
far.
Thank you for having, and thank you for doing my first Instagram
Yeah,
live.
like forcing everyone to come on and
Thank you.